Now see it, Person to Person, a weekly document for television, as told by the faces and voices of people in the news.
Victory is mine. Victory is mine.
Congratulations.
Killed during the third day of food riots. Instances.
Do not attempt to adjust your set.
Hey man, check it out. Eyes only.
This is a streaming freedom video bulletin. The cable hack will last exactly 60 seconds. It cannot be traced. It cannot be stopped. And it is the only free voice left in the city. There are certain men who move through the world with impunity. Their actions, no matter how vile, are immune from consequence. Edgar Sonrisa is such a man. You've seen him, smiling at political fundraisers.
Fucked up. I'll break your camera.
Don't assaulted
You. I'll break your camera.
Don't
You. I'll break your camera.
Don't assaulted me. Fucking wacky. Fucking music industry. Fucking wacky.
Get him away from me. Get him away from me.
Hey, this guy just assaulted me very brutally. Hey, stick around. The cop wants to talk to you, Mr.
No.
He works here. You want him on your property? You need to leave the property now, sir.
He's not
You need to leave the property.
either.
You know, the sidewalk, you need to leave the
I'm a
property.
political reporter,
I
so
don't
that's
care
what
you
I'm
are.
doing
You need to leave
here.
the property. You have ID?
I just showed it
Have
to
ID?
you.
I
Just
want
showed it to
actual
you.
state ID, please.
Have I committed a crime? That's the guy who
I want
committed the
state ID
crime.
now, please.
That's the guy who just assaulted
Give me this.
Sir.
Let go of your hand.
Sir, you have no right to do that.
Actually, I do. You're going to put your hands on the hood of the car.
For
up
what?
there.
For what?
Because you're being resistive and hostile. Now put your hands on the hood of the car.
I just... Hey, good meeting. You guys saving the world in there?
Dude, leave me alone. Fuck away from me. No, I'm gonna hurt you.
You've already hurt yourself. You made an asshole out of yourself. You sprayed me with a toxic gas. And guess what, asshole? I'm complaining to the police. You stupid jerk off. Better not try that again, asshole. Yeah, that's free speech, according to Jam Pack. You don't like somebody's brand of free speech? You just spray them with paint.
It's like they somehow they have the word.
What's your name, Dave Meinert? Are you on the board of directors of Jam Pack? You aware that the Seattle City Attorney's Office, the Seattle City's Attorney's Office, is preparing a case against you?
Hit me.
Hey, you're being completely confrontive here. You were forcibly touching me. Your finger is 1 inch from my face, and you better remove it. You better remove yourself 3 feet away from me immediately. You understand? Get your hand out of my face. Get your hand out of my face.
Go ahead, hit me. Go ahead.
The Seattle City Attorney's Office is preparing a case against you for 2 counts of assault and property damage. You understand that?
So I wish that these had been brought up a week ago, obviously. Councilman McIver?
I guess I'm concerned just out of process. One, out of process in that these are substantive recommendations that I don't believe Harborview has had a chance to open the public to speak to. I do understand that they are willing to try to live with me. I, however, on page 9, item number 4.
What do you think of the fact that...
I will not commit the Transportation Committee to
Sorry, we
anything that
missed you
says we may leave the
yesterday.
street open that we may be
What do you think of the
considering
fact that
particularly when it would indicate the only thing left to do would be an aerial
Eldon Hoke,
something the
El
city has
Duce,
policy against.
passed a lie
So unless
detector
that is
test
I would
saying that in late
support that.
1993, Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to whack Kurt Cobain. Do you in fact believe that Courtney Love preferred an offer to Eldon Hoke to commission the murder of Kurt Cobain?
You're kidding me. I can't believe
Something
it.
far more interesting is happening on your cell phone than a discussion of the murder of your business partner?
It's for you.
That's very funny.
It's God.
You know what's not funny, though,
God wants to talk to
is that Ed Gelb, one of the world's leading polygraph examiners, and Ed Gelb
I just want to respond to the concern
has told
raised
me
by Councilmember McIver. This does not express a requirement on the council. What it says is that the Citizen Advisory Committee has raised legitimate concern. And if those concerns are not considered,
Mr. Novoselic, Ed Gelb, a leading polygraph examiner, one of the world's leading authorities in forensic polygraph examination, has said that one of your business partners, Courtney Love, you're assaulting me, miss, knock it off. One of your business partners, Courtney Love, offered Eldon Hoke $50,000 to murder your other business partner, Kurt Cobain. Hands off, Meinert. You're already under investigation for 2 counts of assault by the Seattle City Attorney's Office. Who are these people? You're the supervising lieutenant in this situation? And you're aware that an assault, a rather violent assault, has been committed on me, a reporter, who's covering this politically.
Discussing this further, I advise you of what your options are.
But I don't understand, if I've been the victim of a crime here in the Seattle City Council
And the
chambers,
other person's claiming something else.
but my
So
evidence
I've
is on
advised you of
tape.
what your options are.
You can look at the tape that's right here in my hand, and you can see that they assaulted me.
And I have witnesses that state otherwise.
But you can
So,
see 100%
we're not
of
gonna argue.
the events that have occurred here.
We're not going to argue.
Because, Lieutenant Wilski, the way that this looks, unfortunately, is that you're taking punitive actions against me as a reporter in order to protect these people from my questioning. And that's very bad because Chris Novoselic, the primary person that I'm attempting...
Okay.
Well, sir, there's the law, and then there's people ignoring the law, and apparently right now you're ignoring the law.
It's time for you to make your choice. You're either going to leave or you'll be arrested for criminal trespass. The choice is yours.
Well, I thought that Officer Lancaster
No, we're not going to
wanted to
argue,
see
sir.
the...
You're either going to leave or you're going to be arrested for criminal trespass.
Okay, well, he wanted to see the tape.
Yeah, we can do that downstairs. We can do that outside the building.
Appreciate your cooperation, Mr. Lee.
Well, I'm not really cooperating because the fact is I'm being forced to leave, and the fact is that I'm a reporter here to cover this political event, which is the changing of a law at the behest of a private citizen, Chris Novoselic, who's paying off politicians for the Los Angeles-based record industry. And, apparently due to the fact that he's given tens of thousands of dollars to local politicians, they can assault me with not only impunity, but with the protection of the Seattle Police Department, because I'm being impaired, rather specifically by Lieutenant Wilski here, from doing my job as a reporter by being ejected from this building. And I think that Lieutenant Wilski would be hard-pressed to make any sort of substantial argument that there's any ordinance, statute, or any other codified aspect of the law that would back up his decision. These people committed criminal actions against me. And now I'm being ejected because of some presumed disruption.
Do you want to show me the tape?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Because if you show me the tape and I see something, I'll take the tape and I'll put it into evidence. Because I'm going to document all of this on a report.
You want to take my tape and put it into evidence?
What I said to you is, if you let me view the tape, if I see anything on there that documents the crime, then
Well, what I'd like to do then is either have an agreement with you that this is not going to involve a mandatory confiscation of the tape. I mean, it doesn't, because I can provide you, obviously, if I'm the victim of this crime, I can provide you with the tape tomorrow, no problem. But I don't want to give up my original master tape, and if you're at all familiar with the law surrounding police seizing media evidence...
Mr. Lee, I never said I was going to...
Just keep your tape.
Keep your tape.
Keep your tape. If you'd like to make a copy of it and submit that, you're certainly welcome to.
Novoselic. Head gangster.
Get away from me, please.
What about this business of the hitman?
Oh God, you're... Come on, go away. Shoot, off with you.
You think this is some sort of a joke, Novoselic? Don't touch my camera. Your people have already assaulted me numerous times. You instruct Meinert to go out and spray paint me in front of the showbox. And now you're trying to provoke an incident.
Leave me alone.
Well, I'll tell you what, Novoselic. I'll leave you alone when you start to answer some questions. Ha ha ha, very funny. You may find it easy to win over politicians with lies and bribes. You won't find it so easy to deal with me.
Go away.
So you know that Eldon Hoke
Leave me alone.
was offered $50,000 by Courtney Love to murder your business partner, Kurt Cobain. Isn't that correct?
Go away.
You know for a fact, Novoselic, that one business partner, Courtney Love, was propositioned by another business partner.
Excuse me, this is...
You know that Eldon Hoke was propositioned...
This area's closed off right now, so I need you to just step aside. Thank you.
All that money that you give to politicians, that'll buy certain things. Like, for instance, passage of your own pet little law on the subject of allowing kids to be in nightclubs where adults are guzzling booze. Also buys you this nifty public hearing that you can videotape and use in your own propaganda TV programs about the wellspring of... Huh? There's Novoselic still cowering. Why are you allowing that guy to cower in the private offices of the Seattle City Council? Yeah, we got a glimpse of Stretch. He got a glimpse of us. He's back there cowering. It is moi. What did columnist Gene Godden call me? The Mike Wallace of Seattle Public Access. December 6th, 1999, Gene Godden column, Seattle Times. So if I'm facing harsh actions... So, Mr. Novoselic, you know that you find yourself at the center of a murder-for-hire scheme. A murder-for-hire scheme which was courted by Courtney Love, your business partner.
Hey, Stephanie. How you doing?
So you're here representing a jam pack or MCA? Your own little hoodlum organization? Hoodlum's like, ooh, get me, bitch. You want to get violent with me? You have your lackeys get violent with me, Novoselic, because if you get violent with me, you're going to find out who you're dealing with, Mr. 6'5". Chris Novoselic, jam pack. Finding himself at the center of a murder-for-hire scheme. Evidently enjoying it all the way.
But,
So you decided to sit with the muscle and not without the muscle, is that correct?
Can you go away, please? I'm trying to sit here.
But seriously, you know about the Eldon Hoke polygraph examination, right? The Eldon Hoke polygraph examination in which he passed with the highest degree
I have, like, personal space
of certainty. Saying the question that Edward Gelb posed to Eldon Hoke was, did Courtney Love offer you $50,000 to kill Kurt Cobain?
Why don't you leave him?
And Eldon Hoke passed with a 99% degree of truthfulness, according to Ed Gelb.
You got the wrong issue on your hands.
What do I do?
In other words, Courtney Love offered $50,000 to Eldon Hoke to murder Kurt Cobain. That's one of your business partners offering $50,000 to kill your other business partner.
Yeah.
Laugh it off, Mr. Novoselic. Ha ha ha. Any rock stars slated to attend Eddie Vedder?
No.
They've rushed somebody back there with, oh, it's the Ved himself, isn't it? Hurry, get your camera. It is the Ved. Which brown mop top to follow? So if I'm not mistaken, you're international rock superstar Eddie Vedder. Sometime Seattle resident.
You're talking to me?
In fact, I am, sir. Are you quoting Taxi Driver?
No, I'm quoting I don't really feel like talking.
Oh, gee, that's too bad, Eddie. This is politics, you know? This is not show business. People are going to ask you questions in politics whether you like it or not. So where do you come down on Novoselic's jam pack organization being a front for organized crime? You believe that? I mean, it's MCA, right? You know about MCA Universal, Eddie? You've been around show business long enough.
Sir, they're about to start the proceedings, and
Good,
if you
thanks
keep
for the
talking
advice.
during the proceedings, I'll
Think
ask
about
you
it,
to
Ed.
leave the chamber.
Gangsters. Gangsters in the record business. That's who you're representing, huh? You're here arguing for the idea that 12-year-olds should be allowed into pubs where loud rock music is being played. I just think there's quite a bit of danger of abuse and violence directed toward 12-year-olds.
Good evening. It's just past 6 o'clock on Thursday, September 14th.
Say, Eddie.
This is a public hearing before the neighborhood.
Is it true that you're still not my fucking messiah?
Richard, you're going to have to leave the building right now.
I'm going to testify. And
If you're disruptive, you're going to leave the building.
Bookman,
And I will call SPD and have you admonished from the building. You understand me?
Phillips,
told him he's in
it doesn't matter.
proceedings and
The meeting is starting this moment. I'm going to participate in the meeting.
Fine, great. If you're disruptive, you're gone.
So I do want to say that Councilmember Margaret Pagler is recovering from surgery.
Bookman, the library cop.
were called out or had scheduled trips out of town that they are on. But we do have representation here, Neil Power.
And behind us,
Steinberg's office, also Charlie
international
here,
rock superstar, David Vedder.
as well as staffing this committee hearing is Newell Aldrich from Councilmember Licata's office and Sheila Capistani from my office. Also want to announce that the mayor is represented by Walt Hubbard of his staff here at the meeting. This is not a required public hearing. It is a hearing that I asked for in order to seek public counsel and advice on the options that are currently before the City Council in reference to the All Ages Dance Ordinance. I want to take just a few minutes to give a brief history of how we got to the point where we are now and explain the options that are currently before the Council. The Music and Youth Task Force was commissioned by a resolution set up by the City Council, or passed by the City Council, approximately 18 months ago. The task force consisted of representatives from the community as well as representatives from city departments who met to discuss different ways in which we could build
And you're a
a
motherfucker, straight up motherfucker.
between music and youth
Fuck
in our
you.
society.
I'm an investigative reporter, Mr. Rockstar.
Ways in which to make this happen. And the task force came up with 4 major recommendations. One was that the city consider more opportunities for music experiences at city-owned facilities. A second was that the city consider the possibility of having a specific facility that the city would construct and own or purchase and own that would be available for music experiences for young people. A third recommendation was that there be a permanent Music and Youth Advisory Commission that would help to review issues that took place. Representatives from city departments who met to discuss different ways in which we could build departments who met to discuss different ways in which we departments who met to discuss different ways in which we could departments who met to discuss different ways in which we could build departments who met to discuss different ways in which we who met to discuss different ways in which we could build.
And you're a motherfucker, straight up motherfucker.
All people's names, and I'll call 3 names. The first person is to come up and speak at the microphone here, and the next 2 persons to be ready to speak immediately thereafter. Sheila Capistani from my staff will be keeping time, and we ask people to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And she will let you know when you are close to the end and when in fact the end of the 3-minute time period has arisen. I'm going to make a special request to everyone. Followed by Dylan Larkin and James Peebless.
Hello. I have lived in Seattle for the past 20 years. I own my own home, I participate in my local community of West Seattle, and as well as always exercising my civic right to vote. When the Music and Youth Task Force was formed, I decided it was time for me to participate even further. I attended the meetings, I emailed my city council members and the mayor, did my part to network with people I know throughout the community, and even got up and spoke at a previous meeting, which, as you can tell, it's scary. I was very happy when the AADO was passed 7-1. It made me believe that the individual does have a voice and does make a difference. The members of the city council were involved in the process. They saw the hard work of the Music and Youth Task Force. They listened to the experts and they listened to the members of the community. A little side note, it is an individual. Everyone has a right to say their own speech. The people who are here talking on behalf of parents, the woman more or less and the other person, it drives me crazy. They don't speak for me. I'm a parent. My voice is my vote. I was extremely disappointed when the mayor vetoed the city council vote, especially when he admitted in print to have not even read read it. To me, this shows the utmost disrespect for the democratic process, which is the cornerstone of our country. And that said, I would love to give a shout out to all the kids. To me, it's so gratifying and uplifting to see these 15, 16, 20-year-olds coming down here and participating in the process. Some of them can't even vote yet, and they're coming down here because they believe in a process. And I feel that City Council's initial vote reflects the community working within the system. I feel the mayor's veto reflects once again how out of touch he is with his role as a representative of the people to the city. Please set this right and override the mayor's veto. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to just clarify that the amendments that were introduced in order to give the council the opportunity to consider that as one of the options. And I did not introduce. Followed by Douglas Mays and Jeannie Hale.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Chris Novoselic, and I have my testimony in written form. I'd like to submit it to each council person, if I could. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to testify at this city council hearing. And I'm here to voice my support for the All Ages Dance Ordinance as it was passed by this council. I urge the council to override the mayor's veto and vote against any amendments. For 18 months, our music community has worked in good faith with the city council, police, fire departments, and city attorney's office to create comprehensive legislation that ensures a vibrant and safe music scene for people of all ages. The AADO is responsible legislation that protects the interests of minors, parents, and the city government. The ordinance, without the amendments, requires that the venue be safe, meeting all city building, fire, and safety codes regarding public assemblies, drug laws, and existing laws protecting youth from sexual predators and violent crimes. There are provisions regarding security staff proportional to crowd sizes. Included in the original ordinance is a mandate that promoters undergo criminal background checks. In addition, the AADO allows the city to pull a promoter's license if they determine that unsafe conduct is occurring. This ordinance has been subjected to much misunderstanding. Some journalist claims are outright irresponsible, sensational, and mean-spirited. It's my belief that this misunderstanding is rooted in a myopic disdain for the music community. Seattle and music are synonymous. Why do some civic leaders always link music with social problems? Our music community has worked hard for all it's achieved. We've added so much to the legacy of Seattle as a city of world-class artistic expression. Yet we receive little support from our city leadership, from some in our city leadership. It's time to hear the music. The veto of the All Ages Dance Ordinance and the proposed amendments are punitive actions against two of our city's greatest assets. The first asset is our youth. Creating opportunity for youth to assemble in a safe and regulated environment is what the intention of the original ordinance is. Second, for our first-class music scene to thrive to the point of global prominence it has achieved, in the face of a discouraging municipal regulatory environment, that is an indication of our community's vitality and stature. I believe that put into practice, the All Ages Dance Ordinance, without the amendments, will be a service to our city at large. I urge the council to recall why they voted for it. Please override the mayor's veto and vote against any amendments. Thank you.
Richard Lee, followed by Christopher Wall and Deborah Simmer.
suppose I could get a lot more than 3 minutes. On the other hand, I'm not a lobbyist, so I'm not paying for your time. And presumably this is the way that this legislation, which is absurd on the face of it, allowing 12-year-olds into bars, loud, smoky bars where adults are getting drunk and listening to loud music. That's how this legislation passed with a 7-1 vote, only to face a mayoral veto, which apparently was rather half-hearted. The way that this is passed is that Chris Novoselic, former rock star, shows up with his pockets bulging with $400 contributions, he and all his music industry buddies. Boo! And all of you, of course, line up to get your share. Now, this is a book called Dark Victory, Dan Moldea, 1986, Viking Press. How many pages is it? Almost 400, and Moldea outlines very specifically and very meticulously with Justice Department records the connection between MCA and organized crime going back to the Capone gang. In fact, up until June 19th of this year, Chris Novoselic was in the employ of MCA Universal Seagram, headed by Edgar Bronfman Jr., direct descendant of Mr. Sam the Whiskey Man, head of the Canadian wing of the Capone gang. All right? So that is the lineage of this organization. It was started in 1996 with a $5,000 grant from MCA, and I emailed all of you about this, all of you, only 2 of you showed up tonight, but all the council members, none of them responded. Now, all of you know that Kurt Cobain was murdered. There was no blood at the scene of the crime. The person who engineered the fix at the scene was Sergeant Don Cameron, who resigned last year after being called by the King County prosecuting attorney a co-conspirator in the Beauregard-Mitchell murder or accidental death at the hands of the bullets of the Seattle police. Donald Cameron, Sergeant Detective, now disgraced and retired, is the person who supervised the Cobain crime scene. So if you're going to agree with these idiots back here who are snickering at me and say, well, no, we'll put the prestige of our police against you, Mr. Investigative Journalist, well, put the prestige of Donald Cameron, disgraced detective sergeant, against me any day of the week. All right? The real motivation in paying for the passage of this absurd legislation to put 12-year-olds in smoky bars with drinking adults is to show that Chris Novoselic, head of JAMPAC, president of JAMPAC, president of Nirvana Incorporated, is all hunky-dory with the Seattle City Council and the Seattle City government. Why all he has to do is show up and give them some money, and they pass laws for him. How could this individual be involved in a murder for hire? Elvin Hoke passed a lie detector test in 1996 saying that Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to murder Kurt Cobain. Elvin Hoke passed this lie detector test with one of the leading forensic polygraph examiners in the world, Edward I. Gell. Okay, you understand? So, in fact, Courtney Love, Chris Novoselic's business partner, offered $50,000 to commission the murder of Kurt Cobain, who was the president of Nirvana Incorporated, and now the president of Nirvana Incorporated is sitting in the corner of this room, Chris Novoselic, and he paid for this legislation. Any questions, council members? I'll tell you what, this is my own personal copy of Dark Victory. If you'd like to borrow it, I'll be happy to loan it to you. It's out of print. Would you like to borrow it, Councilmember Conlon?
No, thank you. Your time is up. Please allow the next person to speak.
Thank you for your time.
We had a public hearing on this last Thursday night, and we had a number of people testify. And I thought one of the most moving testimonies we got came from a parent named Jody Marks. She was the parent of a 9-year-old and of a 15-year-old, and she works for Child Protective Services. And what she said was that she sees every day children who are in crisis and have problems. And she eloquently testified that the problems that affect teens, the drugs, the alcohol, all of those sorts of things that are issues, have nothing to do and are not brought on by dancing. And what she testified to us was that she wanted us to override this veto because she believed that her kids would be in the best shape and would have the appropriate protection if this particular ordinance was in place. 18 months of work, a dozen meetings of the Music and Youth Task Force, 5 committee discussions, 2 public hearings, and a public meeting at Garfield High School for teens led to a well-crafted and responsible ordinance. I very much regret the fact that this ordinance was vetoed. We did attempt to have some negotiations with the mayor's office on this. We were unable to come to an agreement. Even 3 weeks after the initial veto took place, as late as last Thursday, we met with members of the mayor's staff, and still new issues were being raised. The fact is that while I appreciate the concerns that have been raised by my colleagues and some of the ones that have been raised by the mayor, the fact is that there is a clear record and an extensive public process showing that all of the issues concerning this ordinance have been addressed, raised, looked at appropriately, and answered responsively. It's why this ordinance was before you initially with unanimous support from committee, why this ordinance was passed initially by a 7-to-1 vote of this council, and that's why I would urge the council members to vote to override the mayor's veto today.
A call might have called my attention to concerns, but I didn't even receive that. So I don't think that we should honor this veto for that reason alone, that we should know when a veto is coming. And we did not know, and we did not know what the key issues of concern which the executive had, which was the reason for this veto. I think we can, I'm confident, address some of the issues that have been raised by the executive and others in the department. If we override this veto, I think Councilmember Conlon is willing to take up those issues and address them and possibly make some amendments that address some of those concerns. But that's not really what is before us today. It's an override, and I think that we need to get beyond to something better. And I'm afraid that this will be a major setback if we simply revert back to the status quo, which isn't acceptable.
And representatives from the music community. And they came up with a very even-handed set of recommendations, and those recommendations were incorporated in this legislation. This legislation is reasonable, it's responsible, and it was good. And there was no reason for the mayor to veto it, particularly in the manner in which there was very little communication between the executive and the legislative bodies as far as the nature of why it was vetoed. And
restrictive. So I certainly want to send a message to the mayor's office that last-minute vetoing is not the way that policy should be done in the city council in the year 2000. Thank you.
It defines our city. The EMP, the Experience Music Project, is in the heart of our city at the Seattle Center. Clearly, we embrace music. It's very much a part of our city, and we should embrace our music culture, which is a very vibrant part of our lives here in Seattle. I will be voting to override the mayor's veto.
Some ways we can do that. So I do hope that you will take my vote to not override the mayor's veto as one that is not in disdain, as one that is not a vote to keep people from having the ability for their teenagers to enjoy dance and music, but one that believes we can create a slightly better ordinance with a bit of negotiation. Thank you.
I asked to hold the alternative measure rather than re-referred, is that I think that in 2 weeks' time, I hope that we can come up with something. I honor and I respect immensely the 18 months or 14 months of work, whatever it was, that the Teen Dance Task Force spent. I'd like to see something pass. I have only one thing that I want to see in it. I'm quite prepared to to vote for an altered measure that has some sort of age limit in it. I'm just, I've got to say in conscience, I can't see 12-year-olds going out and spending the night at a dance. And there has to be some sort of responsible adult statement about that part of it. Beyond that, I think that we're very close on the details.
That's because it's warmer. And it would be great if you could look at a delegation coming to see us.
So here we are at the rear of the council chambers, and I suppose we can now and forever refer to this as the Eddie Vedder chair, that which the Ved took retreat to only, what was it, 18 days ago. So they've just taken a vote. Right now they're listening to some, I think it's the mayor of Queensland, New Zealand, here on a visiting, tour or whatever. This happens fairly frequently. Last time around it was Vladivostok, I think. So they got a guy up there with a foreign accent, and he kind of blathers on about how beautiful Seattle is, and sure, next to Vladivostok, we come across looking very nice.
Well, I would just like to say,
the New Zealanders probably
nice to have another group
find the whole
Christchurch in Seattle.
9 or 10 people running Seattle thing kind of suspicious. Apparently, they have a much bigger council in Queensland.
I was in Christchurch to celebrate the 15th anniversary when I met.
I suppose they especially find the whole thing suspicious if they saw our broadcast last night, which of course was the,
my colleague,
primetime airing of the Ed the Ved material.
Has been one of the leaders in the sustainability movement in Seattle in this area. And when I first went to Christchurch, I really was not very familiar with this whole movement, and
maybe it's from Christchurch. This gives the council members an opportunity to say Christchurch over and over again, which
she knew about our sustainable cities, and she wanted more information.
Plays to a certain constituency.
So that really got me learning about what.
Anyway, from here at the Ed the Ved chair, we can let you know that they've just taken a vote, and the vote was to, as Ms. Drago, who's speaking now, just said, shelve it indefinitely, postpone it indefinitely. She said, take So let's explain a bit of what just happened there, which is that this is supposed to be the big day. They've just instead, rather than approving this All Ages Dance Ordinance thing, they've put it off. And the way that happened was that Ms. Drago, the probably by far least capable member of the council in every way, although she is former president of the Seattle City Council, Ms. Drago got up and said, motion to postpone this indefinitely. And she seemed to take some satisfaction in the indefinitely part. After all, the least capable member of the council, Jen Drago, was the only one to have voted against this thing a month ago. Pagler, her usual teammate, was off having her heart massaged or softened or something. Some sort of ailment kept her off the president's chair at that time. So Drago got up there and said it's being postponed indefinitely. And then quickly Conlon got up and said, well, of course, what we're doing is really not just postponing indefinitely, but we're referring this back to the Neighborhoods Committee, his committee, where they'll obviously give it some deep thought and possibly rethink his assertion 2 weeks ago that he would not vote for any amendments. That is, They wanted this legislation passed, the legislation that Chris Novoselic and the Jam Pack paid for, and they're not going to accept any compromises whatsoever, is what Colin laid down. And, this was seconded by Nicastro, as I recall, and definitely seconded by his co-sponsor, Heidi Wills.
This is a routine piece of legislation asking for approval of an access and distribution.
And, if you can't get this thing, in terms of engineering a mayoral veto, it should have just come about today. If you saw Conlon, and of course we have the tape, rather if you saw Compton and McIver, who switched their votes 2 weeks ago, they flip-flopped on this thing, and they said that I won't get into the specifics of exactly what they said, only to characterize it as Compton and McIver slobbering all over themselves to explain that, by gosh, we're not against kids dancing or anything, we're just going to vote no today just to keep up appearances, almost as if to just smooth things over with Mayor Shell, in as much as they don't want to, be a part of some rebel faction that's going to override this thing, even though when it came up 2 weeks before, they voted for it, evidently without question. So they flip-flopped rather than be a part of the 7 who would challenge the mayoral veto. But again, slobbering all over themselves to apologize for it, and pretty much laying it out that when this thing came back up in 2 weeks, meaning today, they'd be all on board, after having their little concerns assuaged in, private session or some such thing. Not that they had any particular concern saying these kids got to be in no smoking venues. Certainly they're not saying that they have to be in no drinking venues. There weren't going to be any major objections. They were basically going to get on board and vote for it today after their initial objections, or rather after their nondescript objections were answered or addressed in some presumably private way by the 5 members that were still on board who hadn't flip-flopped like McIver and Compton. So the idea that Compton and McIver voted for it a month ago, 2 weeks ago they flip-flopped, and today to all appearances they flip-flop back. Presumably it's possible that someone else flip-flopped, although I can't imagine who that would be. It seems like they do have a solid 5 in their favor. As of 3 days ago, certainly Judy Nicastro, as you've seen, and also Mr. Licata were certainly on board with this thing. They were partying it up with Jam Pack inside a nightclub, outside of which I was very violently assaulted, my camera nearly stolen by a guy who said, "I want the tape in that camera," and tried to wrestle it away from me on that basis. The police didn't show up for at least 1 hour of me standing in exactly the same spot waiting for them, and I didn't see a cop car for like an hour and 15 minutes, and that was 5 blocks away in front of the Virginia Inn. So they were, as of 2 days ago, all gung-ho to declare this as the safe haven for entertainment in America, where kids could rock with the adults, hard drinking, hard smoking, or whatever that they might be. And today they definitely backed off of that. So there can be no other factor other than our involvement in this issue that could have caused these generally consistent legislative ponderers to flip-flop 2 weeks ago and then to flip-flop back today, not allowing for a mayoral veto on the legislation that many of them pledged they needed to see passed in its original form, no amendments, no compromise. Now there's a big compromise. Nobody knows when it's ever going to come up again. And victory is mine. Victory is mine. The AADO is DOA. Victory is mine. Victory is mine.